I'm Tara.
I'm Ryan.
We love Disney movies.
So we decided to watch them all, from Snow White
to Frozen 2 and beyond. Each episode will watch a different Walt Disney Animated Studios film and tell you all about it.
Did we like it? Does it hold up? Who's our favorite hero?
Or villain.
We'll give you history and fun facts about each movie.
And sometimes we'll invite our friends to watch along with us.
So put on your tiara
or your evil crown
and join us on our adventure.
This is Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries. Hello, listeners. We are back with another great episode, and we have a new guest. It's always fun. We've had some returning guests lately, but we have a new guest joining us, and we're very excited to have her here.
Yes, we were going to have Chris come back and do this sequel to Fantasia. We're doing Fantasia 2000 today, but we have a different guest. Some may say a better guest. I mean, this is me throwing the gauntlet at Chris, but also say hello to our Facebook, our only Facebook moderator. Although I feel like our Facebook page hasn't really needed a lot of moderation. But anyway, hello, Madeline.
Hello, and sadly, the only reason I'm a Facebook moderator is I can't do the thing I wanted to do for you guys, so I failed. I'm not better than Chris. I have failed.
Listen, I feel like the reason you were moderator is because we wanted to, you said I'll go back and organize all the posts and and give them hashtags and stuff, and that just wasn't as easy to do as I thought it was, or as you thought it was.
I did too much research into why it's not a doable thing, and it's just not a doable thing unless listeners, Facebook group people, you know how to do it. Help me.
Yes. But Madeline, we've asked you to come on because we met through a mutual couple friend, Phil and Sarah, Phil was so your husband was in the Marine band with Phil.
Yeah, but I'm not going to call it the Marine band because when people say the Marine band, yeah, they think the President's Own. And not that Phil and Chris's band weren't great. They were the Commandant's Own Marine Drum and Bugle Corps. So it is a different Marine band. I just don't want people to think, oh, the Marine band. Ooh, how fancy. Chris, my husband's not that fancy.
Yes, they were the ones who did the show in the barracks. Am I getting this all right? Mm-hmm. Okay. They were the one who did the show in the barracks, and We've met at least, I can remember very specifically us at a dinner together.
It was like a birthday for you or Tara, or it was your going away dinner. And I thought it was so odd that we were invited because I was like, I've met these people once at Sarah and Phil's Halloween party, either that year or the year prior. Right. And then Sarah and Phil just invited us to your dinner. So I was like, hey, goodbye, or happy birthday. I don't remember which one it was.
I don't remember.
It couldn't have been birthday. It must have been going away.
I remember because that's when I dressed as that.
You were one of the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah, I was that witch.
No. She was just a witch.
Just a witch. It was my Renaissance fair.
We went to a Renaissance fair. And as we've discussed, I believe, many times on this podcast, Tara is only interested. She was one day I'm going to cosplay. And I'm like, ooh, she's going to be these hot looking characters. No, she's only interested in cosplaying as ugly
Madam Mim.
Madam Mim
is the newest one.
Oh, so funny.
Every time we watch a show, it's the version of the character comes out in the ugliest version possible. She's I'm in.
That one was based on Latrine from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah,
that's where I got my inspiration from.
Yes. So every time when the character is as hideous as possible, I'm there's Tara's version. So we met through that. Yeah. You yourself are a musician.
Yes.
So let's hear your bona fides. That sounds really
we also have a weird connection, even though I think I may have.
Oh yeah, you guys are coworkers.
We're technically
never
coworkers,
met.
But we never met there because I was always, providing services for older adults. So I was always going out to the community, whereas the community music school, most people were based at the school. Mm-hmm. So
even though they had, at the time, 3, if not 4 campuses, and we're currently in the works of building another. So they had a lot of campuses, and I was just at their main hub. But yeah, I had no idea. I don't think I knew that you were a music therapist there, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think we kind of found out about it after the fact.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Tara, I feel yes, I am a musician, and I'll get into that in a second, but I think my calling should have been music therapy because I love working with people, older, younger, with disabilities, without, and I love making a difference in people's lives. But music is a wonderful way that I like to do that. But I don't think when I was picking a career path, I knew that music therapy was an option. So I wish I had known about it. I wish that would have been my path because, yes, I play the flute and I'm, fine at it, and I play at church and I play for weddings, it's whatever, but I just wish I could do more with it for the community and for people and just making people better. So Tara, I appreciate you and your work. I think it's wonderful.
Thank
I wish I
you.
could have been you.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, not to like push you back into a degree, but there's still time. There's certificate programs. So if like down the line in life, if you decide, I know you're a busy lady.
Well, actually, not really. I Googled it from time to time, and I am now just throwing myself whole, spirit into building my flute studio. So I do have time to Google and take online classes.
First of all, it should be called a flutio.
My student flute studio, flutio. I love it. Flutio. Sorry.
So, no, that's the Tarzan episode. I want to hear more about that because one of the things you were talking about, and this is a good advertisement, we'll probably put this out before then because I feel like by the time this comes out, that studio, that camp may be over.
It is already over, but my Disney fandom in me. I created a summer camp this summer called the Bear Flute Cessities, and everything, all my descriptions were like,
so good.
Puns on Disney music and movies like Bibbidi Bobbidi Flute Droop. Flute Droop is when you're supposed to hold the flute like this, but this is a flute droop. So it's just let it blow instead of let it go. That's for breath support. So I got very into I really honed in on my Disney nerdiness, my Disney love and my music love, and really made this. So next summer though, I'm lazy. I'm going to recycle this will be the same summer camp for next year.
I mean, why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
It sounds like it works.
It's so perfect already. So I'm going to redo it. But yes, I went to Central Michigan University. I'm from Michigan originally. So I went to Central Michigan University for my music.
Are you part of the hand?
I am. But on the computer, I'm like, I don't know what's backwards. So I'm from down here-ish. Central Michigan is literally like in the center of the mitten.
She's a little below the thumb, guys. I think
closest
I
to Detroit,
where you're from.
like outside of Detroit-ish.
Okay.
More closer to Ann Arbor, really. So U of M. Could have gone to U of M. Didn't. Went to Central Michigan University. I was there for 5 years with getting a flute performance and business marketing degree because that makes sense. Well, I knew like as much as I love teaching one-on-one lessons or sectionals, I knew I didn't have the patience and the temperament to teach a band room full of snot-nosed little kids who are only doing music because their parents are making them. Like band directors are a special like breed of people.
Yes, they
are
so
strong.
Yes.
They're so like smart, and I couldn't do it. I knew that. So I knew going in, I was like, flute performance, marketing. Sure, why not? But then, yes, I went to the University of Iowa after that for my master's degree in flute performance. And now that's what I'm doing. I'm marketing myself and trying to flute perform. So.
Well, that's awesome because I think I've already mentioned this. We are doing Fantasia 2000 today. So let's go into like, you said you're a big Disney fan. What's like your favorite movie? Who's your favorite villain? Like, do you have any early memories of Disney? Like, why are you find yourself like drawn to Disney?
I think it's
to Disney.
Why
have I never?
There you go.
Good.
I think it's because I was raised in a Disney family. Like my parents honeymooned at Disney,
right.
Walt Disney World, and they were one of like the first year in at the Old Key West Resort, and so we've had a Disney. Not membership. We've been, I guess, members.
Are you guys part of the vacation?
Thank you. Vacation club members. Yes, we have had a Disney vacation club member since, I don't know if I was born in 87, so 85, 6-ish, whenever they bought that. So we've been at Disney. We've been with Disney for a very long time. And that was our summer vacations once a year. Ever since I was like 4 or 5, we'd go to Disney for the summer. So Walt Disney World. I've actually never been to Disneyland. And so, but we always went to Disney World every year. That's where I went for my senior spring break trip in high school. Like, it's just Disney's, it's just kind of it's our life.
Now, I wanted to do a quick shout out to your mom, who she's the one who has the like actual old cells, and she was sharing that in the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the animation cells. Yeah, my parents collected those early on, and
like Jiminy Cricket is one, right?
Yeah, we have a There are like too many to name. We have a Jiminy Cricket, and a lot of them are signed by the artists. So we have Ward Kimball,
cool.
and we have some Walt Disney signatures in there. And it's really cool the artwork that they have in their house. And actually, my dad just gifted me some more animation cells for my girls' playroom because I think I posted on the Facebook page. We had that Winnie the Pooh with Pooh stuck in the hole, and everyone's like trying to pull him out. He just gifted me like a Cinderella where she's standing in the fountain and admiring her dress. And then we have a Dumbo one. So
wow, that's really
at some
cool.
point. So it's just fun. So I was raised in a uber Disney family. My husband, unfortunately, poor thing, had to marry into the uber Disney family. Now my girls are going to be raised as Disney girls, and it's fun rewatching the movies with them too, and watching them watch it and asking questions about them and just having conversations about the villains. And we were watching Cruella the other day, and my mom, that's my mom's favorite villain. I don't think I have a favorite villain. I think they're all just, well, I don't really know. I'll give it more thought, but my mom mentioned that being her favorite villain. And then Mackenzie, my oldest, was like, I like Horace and Jasper. They're my favorite. And I was like, oh my God, like.
Well, they like the ones from the movie. You've heard that's Tara's cousin, right? One of Jasper or Horace.
I listened to that episode. That's so cool. But yes, they like the manhandling, like stuff the nanny in the closet animated Horace and Jasper. So it's a little concerning. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to watch out for these two.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to bring up before we go into the movie is when you jumped on the call, I want to talk about this now. Obviously, our listeners can't see this, but you have Fantasia 2000 memorabilia you were wearing.
I do. Well, this I think is just at the park, and if it's going to mess
general,
up my mic. Yeah, but I do.
It's the Sorcerer's Apprentice hat.
My Sorcerer's Apprentice hat, which the girls.
You look like you're ready for a circa 2001 rave.
I'm ready for this, man. But yes, I have this little pink, yo-yo playing Flamingo, which is from Fantasia 2000, because I did go and see it at Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. They have an IMAX theater there. And actually, when I was doing just a quick Googling of Fantasia 2000, I think it was the first full-length or featured animation video to be on an IMAX screen.
It was.
Yes.
You
so
were
I
correct.
did get to see it on the IMAX, and I got this little plush my little flamingo, but as my daughter calls it, flingos. So they're always going to be flingos from here on out.
Well, are we ready to start talking about this?
I'm curious. So she mentioned seeing it in IMAX. Do you have any memories? Have you seen this one, Ryan?
I have not seen this one.
You've not seen this one. Okay. I also saw it in IMAX when it came out. So it originally came out in December of 99. Mm-hmm. But then it was like a full release when it came out in IMAX. And I believe a bunch of friends of mine, I guess I was trying to do the math, and I'm never remember how old I am. I think I was a sophomore when this came out. So a bunch of us went for my birthday. My birthday's in January.
That's
we
fun.
did the IMAX. Yeah, we did the IMAX theater in a mall north of us. So question mark on where that was, somewhere in Jersey. But we did the IMAX there and did it. And so I just remember loving it and being like, we were all so pumped about it. Like it was like a real like highlight to go and see it, and then also see it in IMAX because it was just so different.
Well, I will tell you guys now, looking at the year in film, because obviously Fantasia 2000 came out in what year?
1999.
Of course.
Yes, but it was the end of 1999, so I kind of get it.
Blues Brothers 2000? There was like this weird...
Oh,
it's terrible. Don't see it. But there was like this weird like...
having to use the year.
Yeah, let's throw the year 2000. Like, who's the first one to do it? It's just annoying.
Yeah.
But while you guys were watching Fantasia 2000, I was probably watching Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, for the, 7th time because I was determined to watch it more than my Titanic-loving friend watched Titanic. And that was that was an effort I both won and lost.
Yes, because let's talk about
Star Wars Episode 1.
Yeah.
So just real quick, that year in film, I think we talked about it on the Tarzan episode. Star Wars Episode 1 was number 1. 2 was The Sixth Sense. 3 was Toy Story 3. And then I do want to point out real quick, number 8, The World Is Not Enough, which I think I did on that episode.
Bond movie.
Yes.
Also, this was the first time since 1977 that 2 Walt Disney animated features were released the same year. So Tarzan and then Fantasia 2000, because technically it was released in 99.
Tarzan number 5 that year. Doesn't look like Fantasia 2000 broke the top 10.
I looked up 2. It got an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. If I don't know that we've specifically mentioned it, but it is the sequel to Fantasia. I mean, it very much, that's kind of how they viewed it.
Can I talk a little bit about the intention of this?
Sure, go ahead.
Because Fantasia, the original Fantasia was we talked about, released in 1940, meant to be a continually touring project
where they would like cycle music in and out.
So
Build special theaters for it, get special audio for it. Like,
yes,
it was a whole thing.
And they recut it and put things in and out. Roy Disney, his original pitch for this was, we're going to release Fantasia, and I'll go into why here in a second. We're going to release Fantasia, and about half of it's going to be new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they kept going back and forth. At one point, there were 3 original Fantasia segments in here. I think it was the Nutcracker. I always forget what it's called because I am not a music person. I'm going to show how dumb I am at. I'm very bad with names of classical tunes.
Don't call yourself dumb.
I'm not dumb. Here's the thing. I feel like I'm less qualified than maybe the two of you, because to me, to you, it probably has a beautiful original title, but to me, it's the Hippo and Crocodile song.
Oh, that's fine.
Dance of the Hours.
Dance of the Hours,
Yeah.
right. So Dance is going to be Dance of the Hours, the Nutcracker, and Sorcerer's Apprentice. And eventually they kept paring it down until they only had the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Well, that's good, because I was, to be honest, a little disappointed. I guess I don't know if get into this now or later, but I thought it was kind of lazy on their part to recycle the Sorcerer's Apprentice and also use 2, I guess 3 if you count Ducasse, but use 2 of the same composers. Like, there are so many other composers out there. There are so many other wonderful works of art. Like,
here we
and
go.
other music, like,
hot take, love it.
Yeah,
I love Fantasia and Fantasia 2000, but I'm like, you didn't have to do Beethoven again. You didn't have to do Stravinsky again. Like, there's other people out there.
Yeah,
I cannot tell you because I don't know why I am here for the hot classical music takes. It's like that aspect
Throwing
of
down,
it.
man.
I have a note here somewhere, but I can't find it, so I'll cross it out when we get to it. But
yes.
I have a note talking about Roy Disney. One of the pieces that he was adamant be used was Pines of Rome. He apparently took a music appreciation class, and that was a piece he was adamant about. And then the other piece that's in there was Katzenberg, and I have some facts on Katzenberg. Not Katzenberg. I'm sorry. I'm switching them. Eisner. But I have some facts on Eisner and Katzenberg. But Eisner specifically wanted Pomp and Circumstance because he had heard it at his son's graduation.
Yes, as we all know, Pomp and Circumstance is very famous for being what?
A graduation.
Randy Macho Man Savage's entrance music.
Okay,
yes, correct.
there we go.
We remember
Perfect,
that.
perfect.
We all remember that.
So I have another thing with this. So Eisner, he very much wanted this after his son's graduation. Listen to what he originally wanted as the animation. It's kind of bonkers, I think. He originally wanted all the Disney princesses and princes in a wedding procession, and all the princesses would be pregnant.
Okay, well,
that's where it gets weird. That's where it gets weird,
moment.
right? And
okay.
so the animators refused to work on the idea.
Thank goodness.
So it did.
Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
I'm
That
so
would've been
glad that they
strange.
drew that line. I was like, that's so weird.
Can I back up a little bit to kind of the history of how we got to have this movie released?
Sure.
Because do you know why all this? Because Fantasia was not successful. It was historically not
we
successful.
talked. Yeah, and I believe we highlighted that in the episode.
But they re-released it on video.
Yes, in 1991. It went
1991.
to home release.
20+ million copies.
Yeah.
Sold like gangbusters. People had really kind of warmed to it. I think, it was kind of, people referred to it as like, in the documentary I watched about like Walt, it was the one thing that one of the few things he was kind of, he always was moving forward, but this was the one thing he was like, I wish this had worked better. So that's when Roy went to Eisner and said, I want to redo this back in 1991, maybe a little bit before.
So Eisner became chief executive officer in 1984. And
Yes.
so that's when the idea started being, they kind of give Eisner credit that like he...
Of course they give Eisner
yeah,
credit.
but I'm sure it was also Roy. I feel like Roy was very passionate about the
Yes.
original as well as this one. But yeah, they talk about in 1984 when Eisner becomes the chief executive officer, kind of the ball starts rolling with
In
it.
the 80s, they were working on a piece called Musicana, which was a world music version of Fantasia. Because despite the fact that Fantasia was kind of a flop, like it really pushed Disney in this like, well, how do we fine tune music and animation? They did it in their Merry Melodies. Like they kept doing it.
Yeah.
Like even classical music became a big thing. But
Yeah.
like we look at like the next movie I think that came out was Make Mine Music, which was more popular and very different. But they were working on that. It was a world music set to animation. They were working on American jazz piece, an African piece. John Lasseter, who went on to do Pixar, was pitching a Emperor's Nightingale with Mickey Mouse, stuff like that. And then I think after that is when Fantasia made a bunch of money. They said, well, let's try and do Fantasia again. It was something they were working on for, I think, 10 years in production.
Yeah, I think I read something like 9. So
yes,
yeah.
It was originally called Fantasia Continued before, again, we got close to the millennium and everything had to have 2000 at the end of it.
And also when Katzenberg was still a part of the company, he was so opposed to the film. I read that development took place without his knowledge or involvement. That was the Katzenberg fact I had.
I think
which I found
Katzenberg was kicked out of Disney for being more of a executive producer than Michael Eisner. Like, it definitely tracks. He was like, I don't want music. Kids hate music.
Yeah. So to focus on kind of the debut, I don't know if you want to go into that a little bit, but it debuted on December 17th, 1999 at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
The orchestra at Carnegie Hall was the London Philharmonic that I read as part of the debut, but I believe it's the Chicago Symphony on the album,
that
like
is
the
correct.
Recording and the actual film.
And the reason why, we're going to talk about this guy very briefly because I have a question about him, but mostly turns out he's a terrible monster, so we'll kind of skip
the
that.
Conductor of the symphony.
James Levine. So do you know who James Levine?
Yeah.
So he was the conductor. They came to him basically because the first thing they did is they go, we want to, like I think Eisner said, we want to cut some of these down. You can't do the full things. So they had to find a conductor who was interested in that, but also who was interested in doing Fantasia, but also like okay with, hey, we're just going to do the first 3 minutes of what is it called? Symphony No. 5.
Yeah, Beethoven Symphony.
And they said that, what would you think if we only did 3 minutes of Symphony No. 5? And he apparently sat there for a while and he looked around. Like he said, he looked at Roy for a while and he looked at this and he goes, if it's the right 3 minutes, I think that could be wonderful. Like, I thought that was a good quote.
Yeah.
But it's also a good quote. Again, as I always say, monsters can make beautiful art. In 2017, it was, if you have kids listening to this, you might want to skip ahead a little bit. It's a little disturbing. But in 2017, it was revealed in a police report that he had molested a male teenager from 1973 to 1993. More people came forward. He was fired. It was during his time as the music director for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra's summer residencies. Blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of terrible stuff he did. And then this really ticked me off, so I'm going to say this here. He was forced to leave the Met. He was like the Met, worked at the Met at the time, but negotiated a $3.5 million settlement based on the lack of a morals clause in his contract.
Oh, that's so aggravating.
He passed away this year. Thank you for the art you created, but also good riddance to bad rubbish, is what I say.
Yeah.
But another thing I found really interesting about the recording of this, I want to throw in real quick. They recorded at the Medina Temple in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Which is a Shriner's temple. But he apparently pushed for that because he goes, oh, it's terrible for audiences, but the microphones love it. So I love that I do like that he was,
he very much thought about the medium that what they were trying to achieve.
I don't want to say he was a good pick because again,
but
he was knowledgeable and seemed to be good for this. So
when it debuted, it then went on tour. It went to London, Paris, Tokyo, and then I believe Pasadena as well in California.
Oh.
And
those
4
big cities.
Yes,
London,
and then Pasadena.
Paris.
But I'm sure because it was Walt Disneyland,
absolutely.
right? I have a feeling, a little inkling, that's why Pasadena's included. But then it was released in IMAX in January of 2000. So it kind of did this live tour, which I thought was really cool with orchestras, and then it was released in IMAX. It was budgeted, I read, for between 80 and 85 million, but it grossed 90.8 million worldwide, is what I read. The other thing that I found interesting here is IMAX had to agree to Disney's terms. So it was the first, as we mentioned earlier, the first feature-length animated film to be in IMAX, and Disney had very specific terms and conditions, and we know this about Disney in the news currently as well as throughout their history. Their terms, IMAX had to agree to gain exclusive first showings of the film. And so these were the 2 big things: a limited engagement of 4 months and 50% of the box office receipts would go back to Disney. So it's pretty huge. So that's why If listeners, you might remember that maybe there was an IMAX theater by you that didn't have it. That's why not all IMAX cinemas, not all of them showed it. It wasn't a guarantee. One example of that was the California Science Center in LA.
I don't know why, but for some reason, you said California Science Center, and my brain heard California Raisin Center for just a second. I don't know why. Maybe because we're talking about music and animation.
Hey, I love the California Raisins.
Right, who doesn't?
So they refused to meet the terms. So Disney built a IMAX theater for a 4-month run and then demolished it. It cost them $4 million.
What?
To just build it and then demolish it. And I'm like, why would you have demolished it? Like, you could have sold it off. I don't know. I guess it was
we're talking about the height of Disney opulence coming off of the Renaissance.
That's true. And I'm sure they were just like, oh, you don't want to show it? Fine, we'll show you. We'll build this whole thing for it. But yeah, I just found that all
Again, we're talking
really
about very petty people. Katzenberg goes off and makes an entire movie making fun of Eisner.
True enough. Yeah. So, also with IMAX, the original release film incorporated multi-channel and multi-layer stereo system for the soundtrack. So, during the intro of Pomp and Circumstance, Mickey searches for Donald, and it gives the illusion he's running through the theater. And I feel like I remember that very vividly. Like, feeling like
the
he
audio?
was... Yeah, the way... So, that was something that was
cool.
specifically done. The other thing I read as far as CGI, something I found interesting... The Broadway ending sequence, Rhapsody in Blue, it contained over 200 colors, and supposedly the CAP system had trouble rendering it, and it caused delays in the production of Tarzan. So it kind of affected Tarzan as well because they were, using this system and working on both of them at the same time. So I found that pretty interesting.
Tara, you mentioned that there were over 200 colors in Rhapsody in Blue, but I distinctly remember thinking about that piece, thinking it's very not monotone or monocolor, but there's not a lot of color in it. So I'm trying to think of where, because it's very blue and gray and it's just all very, I don't know. So I will be interested to rewatch it and then keep an eye out for those 200 colors, unless they mean 200 different shades of blue.
But yeah, they didn't mention that, but yeah, potentially it could have been many different shades. Yeah. The other thing I found interesting, did you come across Joe Grant's name?
Yeah.
So he was
Joe Grant from the
original.
Yeah,
so
this is when he came back because we talked about he worked on Pocahontas and he worked on stuff like that.
So he was 91 years old and he was the head of story and he was one of the only crew members to have worked on the original Fantasia as well as this. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I wanted to give him a shout out.
We've got a lot of specific sequence notes. And we'll go into those when we come back from watching it, I
did want to mention the celebrities that introduced the pieces.
The interstitials.
Yes, I've got the list. It is...
Roy Disney referred to these as sorbet in between courses.
Oh my God, I love that. Steve Martin, Itzhak Perlman, Quincy Jones, Bette Midler, James Earl Jones, Penn and Teller, and Angela Lansbury.
I feel like the one person who maybe... isn't so iconic in that anymore, the Penn and Teller.
I mean, they still have their magic show in Vegas, don't they?
I know, but their current show that was one of the things my husband likes to watch. It's called Fool Us.
Yes, I've seen that.
It's just fun, and I like.
I don't know if they have the same iconic standing that has stood the test
potentially,
of time as Steve Martin and the Divine Miss M.
Well, yeah, and
maybe back in 2000 and 1999, they were still
still hot. Yeah.
Yes.
Quincy Jones apparently was chosen to do the intro for Rhapsody in Blue because he knew both George Gershwin and Hirschfeld, which I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he was the animator he was a cartoonist, and that style, the animator borrowed his style. I have a whole story about that. I don't know if you do.
We'll go into that. That one's probably
but that's why Quincy was chosen for that specific segment to intro it, which I thought was fun.
Do we got anything else we want to share?
Oh, yes. Haha. You know me. I've always got one more thing.
Yes.
Each segment, I found this kind of fascinating. Each segment was produced individually instead of all of once, like the original. So that was something else that I found interesting. A hidden Mickey, apparently after the rain stops and the animals step out, that's Pomp and Circumstance, right? With the animals. When they step out on the deck of the Ark, supposedly you can see Mickey and Minnie on the roof. So we're going to have to look out for that.
So I think we're gonna go into the movie here in a sec, but you guys have seen this movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have a specific segment that you really enjoy or remember or anything?
The flamingos.
Yeah, the flamingo.
I remember really liking the flamingos. You know me with my memory. I'm actually really excited. I don't know that I've seen it since I saw it in IMAX. I think I saw it once.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I saw it multiple times. So I am really excited about that.
I remember the Flamingos, which is Carnival of the Animals, and Rhapsody in Blue. It was just so...
Rhapsody in Blue.
That's
Rhapsody in Blue is
the
the one
piece
I
is
think
just
I probably
so-
remember
yeah.
the most.
Those
yeah.
are both Eric Goldberg directed ones, which he was the one who did the genie in Aladdin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Genie also based on Hirschfield's
Yes.
drawings.
Yeah.
We'll go
So
into
it
that
all
in a sec.
connects. I just have two other things to look out for. I know I'm not done. I'm
Just
not
one
done.
more
Music
thing, just one
things
more thing.
too.
Oh, yes. I'd like to hear those too. I'll just say mine real quick. Frank the Frilled Lizard in Rescuers Down Under and Winifred the Elephant from Jungle Book. They make
They're in Pomp and
cameos.
Circumstances.
Yeah.
Stances. Pomp
So-
and Circumstance.
Yes.
So that's something to look out for.
Yes.
And then my last thing, apparently, if you have the DVD, I don't know if there's a Blu-ray version of this. I'm sure there is. But the commentary is Roy Disney and Mickey joins Roy. So I just thought that was real fun.
So
Okay.
I'm excited for this music trivia
Yeah.
or
Oh,
thoughts
well, it's
you
just,
have.
I wanted to sound somewhat knowledgeable, so I did quick Googlings on why so-and-so composed such and such. So just...
You
no,
wanted to
and I'm-
justify your master's
a
degree.
little bit, just a little bit. And I'm not going to go into like every piece, but the Beethoven's Fifth has the most, the iconic da-da-da-dum.
Yes,
And
the
which
most
some people
iconic
would
four
say-
notes.
of all music history, which some people think, have said, and some people have said that Beethoven said this, which is, we can't really confirm that, of course, but that's fate knocking at the door. It was in, the midst of him losing his hearing. So a lot of like emotional, internal and external turmoil. There was a revolution happening, like actually in Europe at the time. So that's just something to listen for, even though it's only going to be like 4 minutes long. I found this interesting when researching Cezanne, the Carnival of the Animals. And I'm sure I'm not saying his name right, but that's okay. He actually is like, he hates that's what he's known for. I mean, he'll never kind of know that's what he's known for. He wrote as a joke. And I think the animation of it is very fun and very like jokey with the yo-yo playing Flamingo, but he had banned it from being, like, he did not allow it to be played during his lifetime except for one movement of it, about a swan, the swan piece. So I think and then was only re-released or released in full after his death. So poor guy did not want this to be what he's known for, but it's
The flamingo
basically
one.
what he's known for. Yeah, the Flamingo one.
Yeah.
So
I
written as
mean-
a joke, and it's a pretty funny segment sequence.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I'm kind of like,
do you
get
mean?
over it. But I don't know. I can also understand the frustration.
Well,
He wants to be known for the
so many,
big pieces,
yeah,
and he's
you
a very
compose so many
dramatic
different things,
composer,
yeah.
and then this light, fun, fluffy thing, and
I feel like I played some French horn stuff by him. I don't know. That's like a whole
Ooh
nother.
la la.
It's a whole nother lifetime ago when I was not.
was
a
that your main
performance
instrument,
major.
Tara? Was French
It was
horn?
my main instrument,
Okay.
and I was not great at it. I mean, I wasn't terrible at it. I played it, but
How often
I
do you
was.
pull out your French horn for
Never.
therapy sessions?
I never
Zero.
pull it out. I mean, I just
Do
like
you still own it? Do we have it in the house somewhere?
we don't. I think it's at my
Okay.
dad's house. I don't even think I have it.
trumpet's here
Yeah,
somewhere.
your trumpet's here somewhere. But no, I just it got me into college and all of those things, but like I knew I was never going to be a performer, but I had like crippling anxiety, so juries were like very hard for me.
Awful. They're awful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think my last jury, I think I finally felt like, okay, I proved to people I can actually like somewhat play this instrument, and now I can be done with it. But yeah, I had crippling anxiety in ensembles too, even though like
no.
I was in an ensemble. Yeah, so
Yes.
it just
I wanted to be in an orchestra so I could play third trumpet. No one would bother me. So, do you guys still ever have dreams? Like, you know how you have dreams where it's like, I'm late for a test or like blah, blah, blah. I have ones that are like, oh no, I haven't practiced my solo for solo and ensemble, which was something we did. I don't know if that was it was like a competition
yeah.
that they made me do because I was like on band council.
This
And
is in high school.
I used to say, I'm like, what does this like, I don't want to perform. And they're like, well, it's a good example. I'm like, I think finally I talked him out of it my senior year. But it was also a contributing factor to why our our main director and band did not like me.
I still frequently, unfortunately, have regular dreams about missing a concert, being late for a concert, forgetting my music. Like, what? Why? It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's just.
But you still perform or at least pick up your flute.
Yeah.
I have there's probably
That's
rust
true.
on my trumpet by this point. Do you have like any dreams like that? Having said you
I
have
don't,
that anxiety?
no.
Oh, you've purged it from your system?
I guess, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I've become very proficient and successful.
That's another thing.
At other instruments. So I feel like the guitar is my main therapeutic instrument. It's the one I use the most, along with my voice. And I feel like I put a post for people who are friends with me on Facebook. I never saw myself as a vocalist because I saw myself as an instrumentalist, but I'm now comfortable with my voice, but like it took a long time for like people complimenting my voice and like me to find like, I transpose things. The thing is with therapy, like people go back and forth with transposing things, but me working with older adults, our voices change as we get older. And so a lot of the keys that older adults can sing in are the keys that I shine in. So
yeah, nice.
So that's part of it too.
You got that deep Jessica Rabbit voice.
And I don't transpose everything. I mean, my range has really expanded. The more you use your instrument, whether it's an actual instrument, your voice, whatever, you expand. So I feel like my range has very much expanded since college, but that was something that also I had a lot of crippling anxiety. I'm actually talking about it now. Like I'm very successful at what I do, but I'm kind of surprised I made it out. Music school was very hard for me.
Yes. That is a common thread among, my friends my age, like our age, we're talking about it now. We're in Facebook, not support groups about it, but in Facebook groups, like, how do you deal with this? How do we try to teach our current students not to feel this way? Like, you're not going to die. The world's not going to end if you mess up a note. So like, try not to beat yourself up over it so much.
Yeah.
Like,
Unless you're the angel Gabriel.
Yes. Well, and I think too, we may have talked about this with Chris. I think we did talk about this in the Fantasia episode, but I think for those of us who are musicians, we also had those music teachers that imprinted on us. Either they were very positive or very negative. I mean, going back to Ryan's hot take about his band director he didn't care for.
For the record, that his name's probably going to be cut out.
Yeah.
I will say my assistant band director was one of like a person I will never forget.
Yeah, but that's, I feel like, and I think that's probably true no matter whatever medium, and especially creative mediums.
I will say he just retired and they named the band hall after him. So
Whoa.
Who's the real winner here? I think we know who the more influential. Anyway, sorry.
But no, but going back to your statement about like, how do we not continue that cycle, right? The other thing is, it's sight singing. I was always, again, because I didn't see myself as a vocalist, and those classes where you basically just had to sing with nothing in front of everyone, like crippling.
So you're trying to do the solfege, and then you're trying to pick the pitch out of midair, and then like, awful, terrifying.
Yeah, crippling anxiety in those classes as well.
Sounds like karaoke with no beer.
It's not, and I'm not
it'd be awful.
I'm not trying to say like it was so hard to be, but like those were things that like for me those were huge barriers that I
will point out you do this where you think like anytime you complain about something you go, well, someone's had it worse. Like, this sounds awful. Like, I want to.
Yes.
Like, as an outsider, this sounds terrible.
and it's one of those things where it's like, I think that also I knew I never was going to be a performance major because of the crippling anxiety I had, but it's a lot of things that people don't think about. Just because you're not a performance major, you still have to you still have to take those classes. Like I still had to take class piano, which was another terrifying one, where there's just a bunch of keyboards in a room and you all have headphones, but eventually you have to unplug your headphones and play for the group. And that's something else. I did not take piano. That's the one thing I wish I had taken piano as a child, because I was first exposed to piano in that way in college. And that was another, I'm actually surprised I'm a fully functioning adult talking about my crippling anxiety, because like the anxiety was bad in all of those things.
I'm right there with you, Tara. It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unless you guys have anything else, I think it's time.
I think it may be time.
Yes. So let's take the VHS out of the clamshell and stick it in the VCR, guys.
We'll see you on the other side, listeners. Well, listeners, we are back, and I am super curious what you guys thought. I kind of want to start with Ryan because you've never seen it.
I have very complicated feelings about
Interesting.
this.
Okay.
I think it may be best. I think it may be best if we talk about it. For me, if we talk about it as we go along. So
Yeah,
I'm
so
more
segment
interested
by
to hear,
segment.
Yeah, hear you guys, and then I'll do a wrap up. I know I'm kind of building it up. Some things I really like, some things I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I have thoughts on its success as a piece of art versus the original. Like, there's a lot of thoughts I have here.
Got it.
There are parts that I very, very, very much enjoyed. But I think because it's segmented, it's easier for me to go along and talk about each segment individually.
Sure.
What did you guys think overall?
I kind of alluded to this, I think, at the top half that, like, I think it's wonderful. I love that it's, bringing classical music to the masses in a way. And my kids like watching it too. And it's fun to have them interact with it that way. But I just think it was kind of lazy in the sense that like, they duplicated composers. They put the same piece in there twice. They shortened a lot of the pieces. I feel like they took design and artistic ideas from the first Fantasia. Like the opening Beethoven felt very similar to the Toccata and Fugue Bach, and also a little bit of Rite of Spring and a little bit of Night on Bald Mountain all in one. So it's like,
so that was a concerted effort.
Yeah,
Roy
the first
Disney
one,
said
it's
we want
mirrors.
the the first and the last one to mirror the first and the last one.
And
The
you
other
very
ones.
much
We
get
wanted
that.
an
I
abstract
get
one.
that. I guess,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know, but it just felt, so that's cool, but also like lazy. Like, you guys, come on, you can think of different things, better things. I don't know. I liked it and I didn't like it. I wanted them to do more.
Interesting to me because I liked the Firebird one. I think was my favorite.
Oh, I love Firebird. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Love. I was like dancing and singing along almost all of it.
I don't just mean the music though. I thought that one was the most successful, and I'll get into why later. But and Night on Bald Mountain, I think I said is my favorite.
Yeah,
growing up and stuff like this, and so I think knowing that they were similar, I went, all right, Firebird, show me what you got.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, you showed me what you got. All right, you are correct. It was good. I liked it.
I have a confession. I'm like very tired. So at parts I was like, my eyes were drooping. So I was like, I don't know if that's for or against it. But it was fun to see the flamingos again. Like there was more nostalgia there for me because I hadn't seen it in so long. So there were some parts that were fun. I agree with some of the points of both of you, saying like things they could have done different. I kind of like that Mickey Sorcerer's in there. I mean, I understand like wanting to do new material, but I think from a marketing standpoint, that's the one everybody knows from the original. Yeah. It's the one everyone remembers. So I do get why they included it. But I can also agree with, it would have been fun to have like a new piece of music and new animation in there too, versus that one. Or if they had like just had Mickey, maybe because they animate him, an updated version of him in the robe, right? So they could have just done that where like Mickey introduced stuff, or he had the hat on, and like, they could have like connected the nostalgia.
That was like a part two, I'm sure they could.
They could have connected the nostalgia of Mickey as the sorcerer without like just beat for beat replaying the original.
It's
so
interesting because they follow it up with Pomp and Circumstance and Donald in the Ark, and like he's the star of one. So in a way, it felt like they did.
That was
like those two felt very connected.
Yes, I would agree with that.
They both have like, they do it less than Donald's, but they both have like this old bearded mentor who's like harsh to them. Like Donald's is Noah. There's some stuff there I thought was interesting. Let's go.
I can see that
segment by segment. So they start off, and I want to talk real quick about the interstitial stuff. That was directed by I believe it's Don Hahn, who is the director of Lion King, I think.
Well, and it opens with images and recordings from the original before we even get into
But even
Beethoven.
that, like, that was all like green screen.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of thought into like, what is it going to look like? What is this orchestra? And with those, and they
panels
showed
and
on
the shadows.
Yeah, and I thought I honestly really like that. Like, I like the original very simple 1940s color and sound one.
Yeah.
But I thought they did a good job with this one. I think that felt there's parts of this that feel very 1999 Disney. There's parts of this that don't. I think the kind of design of the stage felt very, I think you could do it in many different time periods and it'd be okay.
No, go.
I think that was it.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk more about like the animation of the first one at all.
Of
Beethoven's
Symphony. Well, what do you guys think? Like going into that, I so they did a lot of it was again very abstract.
So I thought this one was less abstract than the original, but maybe I'm wrong because I very much was like it was good and evil, like
so butterflies,
like dark and light, and
That's interesting because I like you guys are. I think you're right. I think you're both right, and I just find it interesting. I think it's less abstract because it's like clearly shapes that turn into butterflies and do certain things.
Yeah, well, and I saw like paper origami, kind of like the brightness of that versus like the dark, like cranes is almost what they looked like. Yeah.
But I also find it interesting that you found it as a good versus evil thing, which I guess was there, but I didn't really like. It didn't like
for me. I guess it was the music. It went from being very lighthearted. I mean, they very much like
they
capitalized on that.
And went to the light at the end. Don't go toward the light.
And that's also interesting because it is more of an animator's or this artist's intention as opposed to, oh my God, it's Beethoven, isn't it? This is Beethoven.
Yes, this is Beethoven.
Boy, I felt like I was like, oh no, I'm going to say something really stupid. It's less Beethoven's intention because it's an edited, shorted down version.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I didn't think of it that way. This was a lot of CG, and they did in a very interesting way of like recreating that butterfly into those big swarms and stuff.
I did like it. I thought it was cool. If you got a little like strobe light issue though, maybe not watch this one because there was that one like da 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 like the strobe light effect. I was even like kind of squinting my eyes at it a little bit, like that's a little harsh.
I wonder if there was a strobe warning.
I don't know. Yeah,
at the beginning. This one, I have some of the animators like I got from this one. This one was P-Shote Hunt. This was made to look. It was a lot of computer animation, but also made to look like it was like Roy said. I want this to look like brushstrokes, like it was lovingly made by hand. And I thought they accomplished that in a lot of places at the beginning, especially with the splashes and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But you're right. It isn't
I think
quite
the
as
very
abstract
beginning is abstract with the splashes, but then I think it becomes I think you can assign like a narrative to it pretty clearly, right?
I think Fantasia was even more abstract because it was squiggles and lines.
Yeah, I'm confusing that one with the sound. The sound came later, right?
The one that was just the
waves.
Instruments.
Yeah.
I still think the one at the beginning was more abstract.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I'm switching.
I'm so glad when we have music experts here because I'm always like, this one, the Dracula song. Like I have like the dumb things I say, I have a note on that a little bit later, but we'll get in a second.
So are we doing thumbs up, thumbs down?
Absolutely. Okay. What'd you guys think about this one?
That's fine.
It was a thumbs up for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that. Okay. The next one is Pines of Rome. Who is this by?
Respighi. Torino Respighi. I don't know.
And Steve Martin introduces this one, and I wrote, Steve Martin's got jokes. He's got a lot of jokes in a short amount of time.
I really like Steve Martin. Always cracks me up.
Me too.
And I love his like he's got this like unearned confidence. Like that's his like I think Steve Martin the actor has earned this confidence, but his character of Steve Martin is just like some of these people have only learned to play just 2 weeks ago thanks to the Steve Martin School of something like
School of Music or whatever.
He's like I've heard what is the name of the violinist?
Itzhak Perlman.
Yeah, he say it again.
I think I'm saying it right.
No, you are.
Itzhak Perlman.
Itzhak?
Like Itzhak. I mean.
Yeah. I'm not sure which way to say
it. I'm not calling you out. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And I like how he goes, I've just learned they play violin. Well, so do I. Like I just love it's such a fun
And he actually is a very talented musician. He has his own like little
banjo.
Thank you. I was like bluegrass banjo.
Yeah,
band
bluegrass.
Thing.
He has a band. Yeah, I remember when we were back in DC, weren't they touring at one point?
They were, and he did something with Martin Short for a while that we wanted to see, and then I think pandemic and everything happened.
Yes.
But I think he played banjo in that too when he went around with Martin.
I will tell you,
Marty.
Short. So this is just kind of a personal story, but this falls right under because I think it was right before we left. This falls under the so this was a concert you wanted to go to, and I'm like, we don't really need to go to that. Let's save some money. And then another concert we moved to Austin was Tom Petty. Falls under this because I think of these because they're so close together. That was a concert I said let's not go to. Tara wanted to see Tom Petty.
I'd never seen him before. He's on my bucket list.
I said, well, let's save some money. We don't need to go to every concert that comes. Tom Petty passed after this concert, and so now anytime Tara says,
anytime I have someone
I think
on my
I want to
list
see him, like, yep, okay, let's go see him. Like, I'm so nervous, like that I'm going because I feel it's not my responsibility, but I feel like I took Tom Petty away. From
I don't blame you for it all. It was a joint decision that we decided not to get tickets for it. But there are those artists that moving forward, like Elton John.
Yes,
he has the longest goodbye tour ever. But the first leg of that goodbye tour, we went and saw him.
I think of this Steve Martin concert as one that I'm like, oh god,
funny.
we got to see Steve Martin. If he passes before Tara sees him, I'm gonna be very upset.
Well, I'm glad that Ryan, you took that from it because something similar happened. A little tangent you can cut out. Something similar happened with me and my husband. We weren't married. We were in our undergrad. That's where we met at Central Michigan. And the local casino had concerts every now and then, and like Frank Sinatra Jr. was coming to perform. And while I shouldn't love Frank Sinatra for his womanizingness, but I just love the Rat Pack. I love the music. I named my stinking cats after them, for goodness sakes. But I begged Chris to take me to that concert, to go to that concert with me, and he was just like, nah. I was like, what? Like, you know how much I love Frank Sinatra. Take me to see his son. It's the closest I will ever get to this man. No, wouldn't do it. Rude.
I'm now going to tell the story about how I killed Frank Sinatra.
Oh my god!
So
I almost feel like this needs to stay in.
Yes.
Even though
so when I was in high school, we had a humanities history class, and we were doing trivia, and we were having a big game. And it was like the last question for our team, and they said the question was, "Who is Old Blue Eyes?" And we went, "Oh," and I'm like, Bing Crosby, and I was wrong, obviously.
But he did have blue eyes,
yes,
so you weren't
I was
completely
close.
Wrong. Yeah,
it was a good guess. And he goes, "No, Frank Sinatra." And I said these words: "Who cares about Frank Sinatra?" That night, I went home and on the news, Frank Sinatra dead today at whatever age, and I was like, "Oh!" And like the next day, I came to work, and everyone went. I came to school, and everyone went, "You killed Frank Sinatra." And I was like, "I didn't know." He's like, heard me. He just was like asleep in bed, and so I went, "Who cares about Frank Sinatra? And like, he like,
yeah, who
woke
does
up,
care
he's like,
about me?
Nobody. Like, I felt like I was awful.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks for that.
So let's talk about Pines of
Rome.
Pines of Rome.
We're speaking.
So this is one Roy Disney talked about, where it was like this very interesting idea of like Pines of Rome has a very specific vision that the artist created to put in here, which was the Roman Legion, like that sort of thing, right?
And the trees and the fountains and the roads in Rome.
Yes,
he was very struck and inspired by them. Mm-hmm.
And apparently they played this for the artists, and the artists were just like jotting down ideas and drawing stuff. And one guy started drawing clouds, and they went, because apparently Roy Disney made a comment. He's like, a lot of artists draw clouds when they're thinking of stuff. Like that's kind of like a good starting point. Mm-hmm. And then one of them looked like a whale, and everyone went, huh? And like started kind of going, well, what if we did this?
What I like about it is I love the idea of thinking that whales fly. Like there's something like their movement in the water is very similar to how they have their movement in the air, like when you compare them to birds. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. It was very original, right? This is, I think, a lot of creativity in this one.
I remember seeing this in 2000 and thinking, what the heck am I watching? Like, the whales are cute. I love them. But I'm like, why? Why are they flying? I don't understand. And I wasn't a big, like, it was 2000. I do the math however
it
old
was.
It was. So
1999.
Well, but it didn't get, like, the big releases, like the major releases in IMAX was 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it in 2000. Thanks, Ryan. And and I just remember thinking, and I didn't have this big musical background. Like, I played flute, yes, but I had probably never even heard Pines of Rome. But I was like, why? Why are they flying? But watching it now, I think it's very interesting. And I think it's like as total opposite as they could go. Because if they had done anything on land, anything with trees, anything with, fountains, it would have just been too much like the tone poem. It would have been too like spot on the nose, exactly, with the feel and the reason behind the music. So I kind of love that they went almost as like opposite as I think you can get with it.
So do you think it worked?
I liked it. This, as an adult, I kind of like it. It's different. It's totally weird, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I enjoyed the movement to it quite a bit. I really enjoyed that a lot.
And like the 3 layers of their swimming, sorry, Ryan, like the ocean and then the clouds and then the ocean again into the, it was just cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of how they end.
I liked this one a lot. I don't think I've ever heard this song before. So like I'm kind of doing this weird thing in my head where I'm simultaneously trying to like go with their visuals and think about it, but also go, oh, this is the part where the Roman Legion would come in. This is this is this. You pointed out something that the whales are all CG except for their eyes.
That was cool.
That's what I had read. Yeah.
I thought their eyes were very expressive. I thought that was an interesting thing to keep.
They felt that the software at that time wasn't advanced enough to do the eyes in a way. The other thing I read is that they designed entirely new computer software had to be written to make the water effects in Pines of Rome. And
that's very cool.
Ryan and I, when we started dating, Ryan works in video games. And so I started playing games that he'd worked on. And I think I made a comment, was it in Skyrim with swimming?
You're like,
terrible.
The water looks bad. And I'm like, water's very hard.
Yeah,
and then,
now ever since then, I pay very close
Yes.
attention to how water is designed and how water
in
works.
video games and
And-
stuff.
Really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah,
with
I thought it was
the
really
movement
impressive
and
in
the
this.
splashing, and
Yeah.
it's just...
It's interesting because I'm pretty sure that there was like the movement of the water may have been CG, but like the foam or anything around the whales felt very hand animated as well.
Like
the
some of the
effects,
bubbles and things like that.
Things like that. I
Yeah.
think so. I was shocked at how, I can see the seams of CG and multimedia, especially at this early time, but I thought this was pretty advanced. Like there was a lot of stuff that looked really good. There were some shots, because I watched part of this in the making of, and I went, this looks bad. Because you made a comment where you said that the the technology wasn't there, and I think I said, well, the argument could be made that the technology for the whales wasn't there either, like real snotty remark. And then I watched it, I'm like, oh no, there's a couple spots, but I thought it felt very good.
Overall,
I gotta stop. I did the same thing with Toy Story, where they're showing the clips from Toy Story on YouTube, and I'm like, this movie looks terrible, and I'm like, you gotta stop basing
but
your
I think
thoughts
once you're
of, like,
in the experience of it versus just
Yes.
seeing a clip
Well,
of it out of context,
it's also
very
not
different.
a like reduced quality rip off of a DVD from whenever
YouTube,
and then put on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, that too, yeah.
I wrote a couple notes while I was watching it to where I literally started really getting into the characters of this one. I wrote, is he stuck in there? Oh no! Like when the little baby, and I was like,
Goes into the ice, yeah.
I wanted more of this family. Like I found myself way more invested in this little whale than I thought I would. So.
Cute.
What do we think about this one?
Thumbs up for me.
Oh, totally thumbs up. But do we think,
Thumbs up for me as well.
the snarky comment? So I'm all about like connecting any kind of Disney movie and Pixar movie that I can. Do we think this baby or one of his parents is Monstro from Pinocchio?
Ooh.
The baby grows up to be Monstro.
No, because I think these were humpbacks, and Monstro is a sperm whale, right?
Okay, well then you're right. So not at all.
There you go.
There we go.
That's what you have just said is prejudicial against all whales, and
they all look the same to me. No, just kidding.
oh goodness.
Cut that out. And then when he went into the iceberg or glacier, I don't know. My girls love Frozen, so we watch Frozen 1 and 2 a lot. And one of the plot points of Frozen 2 is that Elsa's looking for Atta Holland. And so I was like, oh, it's Atta Holland and this iceberg. And that's really... Oh, and also global warming's not real. It's just the whales are flying around the icebergs and glaciers and destroying them. So it's really the whales' fault, not the heating of the atmosphere and the decreasing of our ozone layer, the hole in the ozone layer. It's just the whales' fault. Those are all of my thoughts about it. But other than that, thumbs up. Yep, super cute. Love it.
So the next one is Rhapsody in Blue by...
so Quincy Jones introduced this one, and the quote he says is, he took jazz off of the streets and put it in the concert hall. And then
it felt a little appropriation. Yeah.
Well, and then Madeline said he Pretty Woman jazz, which is my favorite comment of the day.
Because I agree. I was like, why? Why would you say that?
Yeah,
like,
why would you say that?
What does that even mean?
What a weird statement.
Yeah,
to
I
make.
mean, yeah.
But
I feel like 1999 has a lot of apologizing to do in general.
Yeah. So I have a lot of facts about this one.
Because this one was done by Eric Goldberg, and this was apparently a 15-year dream for him at this point. He always wanted to do this one.
Yeah, and he also went to Al Hirschfeld, I think I was saying, Field earlier, to adopt his visual style for this segment. And Hirschfeld said if he was 50 years younger, he would have been on the train the next day to work on the project. So he was really excited that they were going to use his style. And I think if he was younger, he would have been pumped to like be a part of it.
Oh, that's cool.
And Goldberg showed Rhapsody to Hirschfeld shortly before his 96th birthday is when it finished. And his wife said it was the best present he could have ever gotten. So I just thought that was a really sweet story.
That was really sweet.
He was in the making of, and he was very interesting to listen to, mostly because he has a very like, you know, late 80s, early 90s way of putting things in that, and you know, just kind of this old way of thinking of things in a good way, just kind of not like, you know, problematic. But he said something because he was talking really interesting kind of anti-Disney approach to drawing, where he said he thought animators should stay away from taxidermy and trying to anatomically reproduce the human figure. The way that way lies madness. The whole idea of animated movement and line is to express the emotional intent of the artist. I'm paraphrasing. I wrote this up, but I thought that was a very interesting thing, especially in this one, because it felt like this one felt the most cartoony and a little like, especially when you see the ballerina doing it, like that felt not anatomically correct. Yeah.
Or I was singing Carnival of the Animals, but like the ballerina's leg.
Yes.
Well, I feel like you would have said this already if this was the case, but the artist that this isn't like the same artist or the inspiration for Genie, is it? Like with
it is.
It is. Okay.
He did a bunch of cartoons. When they show at the beginning, they say Al Hirschfeld and not Charles Darwin. No, George Gershwin. I don't know why Charles Darwin was the name that flew into my head. But those two pictures are Al Hirschfeld caricatures of both of those guys.
Okay. And Gershwin, I would say, appears as the piano player.
Yeah.
In that, which is fun.
Also, he also premiered the piece.
Go ahead.
Sorry, he was the pianist when it premiered, and he also wrote this in like less than a month. He was asked to do it. He forgot he was asked to do it. He saw that he was writing this piece or a piece for this big concert in a newspaper and was like, oh, I forgot to do that. Let me do it real quick. And then like knocked it out in like a few weeks.
That's always wild to me to hear stories about people coming up with like magnificent works in such a short amount of time. But it also makes me so mad.
Like, I work so hard to be semi-decent at what I do, and he's just like, man, I'm just like knock this bad boy out in a couple weeks while on a train. Like,
okay,
boop, boop.
I just want to say, if you're like setting your bar at Gershwin, like let's lower it a bit.
Also, I found this interesting. There are names for the main characters, even though they're never mentioned.
Oh.
So I took a screenshot so I could read it instead of like writing it all down in my notes. But the construction worker is Duke. The man who needs a job is appropriately named Jobless Joe. And
Wait, so is Duke like Duke Ellington,
I believe
you think,
so,
because of jazz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jobless
Joe is rough.
The little girl is named Rachel, named and modeled after Eric Goldberg and Susan Goldberg's youngest daughter. And if you notice too, when I think it's a high rise, it's not a hotel, but it's like a fancy apartment complex. It was the Goldberg. Yeah. Rachel's real life sister Jenny was the model for the character in Rachel's scenes. The girl with the blue hair that can perform all the actions that Rachel cannot. So I thought that was interesting. At the time the segment was being produced, the real Jenny had blue hair.
I wonder if they talk about that in therapy. To this day, it's like, my parents think Jenny can do everything I can't do.
The portly fellow is named John, sometimes referred to by the animators as Flying John, because he eventually, is ice skating and dancing and all of that.
Yes.
And he was named after animation historian John Culhane. I don't know how to say it. Culhane. And he was also the inspiration for the character Mr. Snoops in The Rescuers.
Oh, there you go.
That's
that
a connection.
Like
yeah, they do
I
look
can see that, yeah.
similar. And then Duke is Duke Ellington. Jobless Joe is not named or inspired by any particular individual.
Just a general schlub.
I will say when he gets
look.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing of this one is people kind of doing the day-to-day things, but dreaming. They all have these dreams, and then their dreams kind of all become realized in different ways.
And they're all connected.
And they're all connected.
Really cool.
But when Jobless Joe gets a job I like rejoiced for him.
I know the
because
story.
They really made you feel sad for him, and so
sad.
And,
in fact, Ryan thought he was going to take his life at one point.
Yeah,
Oh
Ryan when he was up at the top of the building.
He goes up to the top of the thing, and I knew this was supposed to be the 30s, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, and it didn't get that dark.
Disney's dark, but not that dark.
Yeah.
I really like the pacing of this one.
I love when they animate all the people because that's very much how New York feels, especially if
when
you're
they're all
somebody
crammed
who's
on
not
the subway
from there.
And they're like, you know.
Yes.
And they get off, but they're
In the
still like
elevator,
holding their
They're
arms.
still there
Yeah.
in the elevator when they're like rushing in and out of the subway in the background. I think that's a jobless Joe. He's sitting there, and they're all going to and from work as he's like at the bar or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot I really enjoyed about this one.
2 random small things about the animation. I loved the waitress's eyelashes.
Yes.
I thought they were so cool. I would love to have those like big fluttery eyelashes. And the construction worker, not Duke, but like right before he starts playing his drumsticks, the beard of the construction worker. I don't understand how they do that animation. Like the face, either like what they used for his beard was like moving around. It was moving differently than his face. I don't know how the animation works, but it was just really cool. So 2 very random animation things.
I have to look at that again.
Yeah, I liked the design of this one a lot. I liked the storyline. I remember really liking this one when I saw it. I also loved this piece of music.
It's fun.
So I feel like, it's one I knew, in high school and probably when we played some version of at some point. So it was one that I feel like I was more connected to.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when this was like the Southwest Airlines?
Oh,
theme?
Yes, it was their yeah.
It's funny when I heard it, it's like fly anywhere or something like that.
Yeah.
I kept thinking that. I don't know why. So I will say I thought this one was going to be my favorite, and it wasn't, and I think it disappointed me a little, but it was still a thumbs up from me.
Thumbs up for me.
Disappointing, just the fact that it wasn't. Like you went in thinking too high, and then
did you hype it up?
I think I did in my brain because I love Eric Goldberg's work on the Genie. I gotta be honest, like I really expected to be a big Eric Goldberg fan, and I feel like he has some of my favorite Disney stuff, but overall, like his stuff isn't my favorite. He directed Pocahontas, and we all know how I feel about Pocahontas.
Yes, you can go listen to the episode.
While visually beautiful, So, thumbs up from me. Still, even though it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, and for me too. But I have one more thing because I did mention I love that Gershwin does make an appearance. I think that's really cool because he did, he wrote the piece and he was the pianist when it was premiered. And somewhere in my notes, who knows if this is true, but it's been said that when he premiered the piece, supposedly before he could acknowledge the crowd at the end of the performance, he had to bandage his hands because he played the piano so hard there was blood on the keys.
Yeah,
and that is quite
that's metal.
It is just that piece. Yeah, it's just very like piano. Oh. So cool though. It's great.
I just thought of a really stupid music joke. I was like, ironically, he didn't play piano. He played it forte. All right. We're going to cut that all out.
There we go. All right. And on to the Divine Miss M introduces this next one. Do we want to move on or do we have anything else to say?
Absolutely.
Okay. Bette Midler introduces the next one.
Bette Midler in like the most posy of pose is just like,
yes.
Hello, like Steve Martin comes out and does stuff and Penn and Teller move around. She's just like, I'm here. Like,
yes,
just
yes. She's like,
hand
hello.
on hip, give him some sass.
Yeah, it was great. I thought they were talking about ones they hadn't done originally because she starts talking about things that got cut out of the original
and you're like,
Fantasia.
I don't want to hear it. That's what I just had in my notes. I just squeaked really high. You didn't sound like that when you said it.
But I thought she was talking about ones that didn't make it into this Fantasia, and I was like, don't tell me what you didn't do.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, okay, because that was a big part of the first one is all the stuff Walt wanted to eventually put in there, including this number, which I don't know that he wanted this for Fantasia. This was originally the Steadfast Tin Soldier story was originally for a compilation film of Hans Christian Andersen stories. Kind of the first impetus of let's do The Little Mermaid back in the day.
Well, you
that never
mentioned
came about.
The Tin Soldier in your Toy Story episode very briefly, right? Like, didn't you say they?
No, there's a different Tin Soldier
that
story that
did
Pixar does.
Yeah,
has a horrifying baby in it.
Well, this I don't know if any of you know the story of the Steadfast Tin Soldier.
I'm sure there's nothing problematic about it. It's perfectly not.
I did not know it, but I did come across a fact, and so while we were watching it, I looked it up because I didn't look it up earlier. this is a different ending.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
than the original
because it's
ending.
a Hans Christian Andersen story.
Yes. So they said that the upbeat nature of the music kind of dictated how they ended this one. And they end this one still, you were very surprised that the Jack-in-a-Box, kind of the king, gets tossed into the fire.
Into the fire.
So in the original, it's the tin soldier and the ballerina that get tossed into the
cool.
fire. And when they look in the embers, they have like melted together and like made a
like
heart. So
Quasimodo
they'll
and
always,
Esmeralda.
yeah, like Quasimodo and Esmeralda,
Oh my
they'll
God.
always be together.
Aw,
So that's,
sad.
yeah, that's like me glossing over
a
it.
real
There's more
bummer, Tara.
details than that, but essentially, that, that's the difference in the ending.
So the song for this one is
It's Shostakovich. I
Shostakovich,
never
piano
say. I always get tongue tied on his.
Easy
name.
for you to say.
It's Shostakovich, but I remember as like an undergrad, Shostakovich. No, it's Shostakovich. Piano Concerto number 2, which he wrote.
Allegro,
for his...
Opus 102. And this is the bone I have to pick with classical music. This title sucks. And the biggest problem with classical music is whoever decided to start giving music names, like the first guy was like, why don't we call it Firebird Suite or something else? Good for you. Because whenever I hear a song and it's like, oh, this is toccata and F sharp.
And or opus, whatever. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm never going to remember this one. I'm never going to remember the name of this
It's for
one.
the cataloging. I mean, the Allegro movement is, it's because back then that was Allegro. That's the general feel. Oh, it's going to be about 1/20th the tempo, and then...
I understand that, but like it's called Game of Thrones, not fiction 304 point. We don't use the Dewey Decimal System to name the books. Like this has been my thing with
so funny.
classical
I never
music
knew
for
you,
years.
Never
like,
knew you had a bone to
funny.
pick about that.
any song that is just called like Andante, I'm like, I'm out. I will never remember this
funny.
song. It'll be, the name of the song will be do 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 or whatever like the main theme from it is. Like
well, you don't care that like Symphony Number 5 is Symphony Number 5. And
Yeah,
because
he
Symphony
had-
Number 6 is technically
Exactly. And he had Symphony Number
We've given
9.
it the name the Pastoral or the Pastoral Symphony. I don't think Beethoven's like, this is my Pastoral Symphony. It's Symphony Number 6. Like,
yeah.
so all of it, you have a problem with all of it.
I think Beethoven is a
numbering
terrible
it, though-
marketing person.
No, I think
he's bad at
numbering it is
marketing.
very impressive because you're like, oh wow, he's written this many.
Mm-hmm.
You
No?
think 5 is an impressive number of
Well, he wrote
symphonies?
9.
Well, he's
right,
written
or-
more. He wrote 9, so that's what I'm saying. Like,
And he also died in his 50s, so he probably could have written more, but still, it's... And
I
he
mean,
also,
The other side of that is all of Adele's albums are whatever age she was when she released it. So maybe there's something there. I'm just saying.
Taylor
Yeah,
Swift did another one. So like...
oh, that's
or
true.
her
Yeah, for
1980,
me,
whenever she was born, you know what I mean? Like,
for me, I always, as you could tell when I was trying to say Shostakovich earlier, I always, again, back to the crippling anxiety. If I had a jury, and especially German, I was terrible at pronouncing German names. But yeah, I would have to practice that as much as I'd have to practice my piece to actually make sure I'd say the composer's name right.
Music
always
sounds
saying them wrong.
awful.
it brings you such joy in a very stressful way.
I know. For anyone out there who's thinking about going to college for music, please still follow your dreams. It all turned out okay for me, even though there were a lot of things that
We're still
were
good.
challenging.
Yeah.
So this one,
Piano Concerto,
again,
you don't like it's Allegro.
yes, I feel like this is like they talk a lot about this being like a short they wanted to do and a piece they wanted to do, and it coming together kind of fortuitously. And in and in my opinion, it works pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
I thought they also chose an interesting thing of doing. This is something that was kind of new at the time of doing CGI characters with a hand-drawn background. I feel like a lot of times at this point in Disney, there was a lot of the opposite.
Yeah.
I would also like to, we could talk more about this later, but I also like to say that the Jack in the Box is one villain of this movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
So we'll be ranking him at the end.
For sure.
Sure.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say about this? We want to rank it?
Yeah, like back to my, sorry, Tara. Back to my, like, me kind of viewing Fantasia 2000 as kind of lazy is, I actually thought this was, the Piano Concerto is great and the Tin Soldier story is great, but like for every other piece of, in animation in this, they made up their own story to the piece.
Mm-hmm.
So while all Disney movies or most Disney movies, like they are already based on like Hans Christian, like Ariel, Little Mermaid. They didn't have to reinvent the wheel with Ariel or Little Mermaid, but I just feel like it was kind of a cop out. They're like, oh, let's just put tin soldier to this and good, we're done. Like, yes, they had to draw it and it was a lot of work and it was beautiful. But again, like they had flying whales, for goodness sakes, for Pines of Rome. And they're like, well, just take the story that's already been written and here you go.
Yeah.
Because they could have easily done that for Pines of Rome. They could have just done Roman architecture and Roman landscapes and Roman fountains and blah, 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 blah. But they're like, no, let's do something cooler that they've never thought of before. But they didn't for this.
And I think that's why this one, in my opinion, is kind of like, oh, this works and this is good, but like it's not a like Fantasia is a piece of art, and this is a movie.
Yeah,
and there are things that are good about it, and there's things that I like, but I would never like. There's a long list of movies that come between Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 in terms of quality.
What I did like with this one, and I don't know if this is in the original story or not, is I like that. The tin soldier has one leg, and when he first sees the ballerina and thinks that she just has one leg,
as far as I'm aware, that is in the original story.
That is in the original story,
which is very sweet. And then even when she finds out,
moment. But yeah, I would agree with that as well. I feel like they explored their creativity with some of these pieces way more than others. And not to say that what they did wasn't creative. Like you said, they still had to create what it looked like and match it to the music. But yeah.
Thumbs up. I feel like for me, a lot of these are thumb sideways.
This one is a thumb sideways for me.
Sideways.
Yeah, it's not
fine, but I can
completely
live
down.
without it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carnival of the Animals finale.
So James Earl Jones introduces this one with his booming voice, and we have the Flingos or the Flamingos. Yeah. And I love this one. I know it's silly, but it's short, it's sweet, and it's so cute and funny. And I just, the way that they animate like the flamingos like basically doing synchronized swimming, which I love, and then the one who is a little not the same color as everyone else and has a different interest than everyone else.
And
so
a little kookier.
Well, he's a little more magenta, and the reason I specifically say magenta is because I'm very familiar with that color because it's like the color you put on anything that you drop into a video game. You throw that color on it so everyone goes, ah, and they know, like, this art needs to be changed.
Oh, interesting.
This is blah, blah, blah. Like, usually when you get, like, an art asset that doesn't have a skin or anything on it, that's the color it is. It's because it sticks
draw
out.
Your eye.
Yeah, so you go, oh, that's not supposed to be there. And I wonder if there's some thought to that because he doesn't belong. Like the whole story is all the other flamingos
kind of
want
ugly
him,
duckling a little bit.
All the other flamingos want him to do everything they're doing, but he wants to just yo-yo. So I think that's an interesting choice. This is an Eric Goldberg one as well.
Yes, it took him. He wanted to do it completely on his own. He's the only one who did this one. It took him 9 months.
Oh, really?
That's what I read. He did it on his own.
He's kind of a nut.
Yeah.
I like this one a lot because it's like you said, we have a piece of music and it like what's the inspiration it draws. And even though it's like a cartoony, like specific Merry Melodies one almost, like it was like, well, this was the idea we had. And did you guys know it was originally supposed to be a sequel to Dance of the Hours?
No.
Oh, no.
Because it was the original pitch was, what if the ostriches got a hold of yo-yos?
Oh, that's
And it was
going
to be the ostriches from Dance of the Hours.
Yeah.
And because Disney and the Renaissance apparently loves flamingos, as we've talked about, they decided to change it to flamingos.
I think flamingos were a good fit. And again, I like because it was new, versus like leaning on the old. But I love when he's so frustrated at first. Like the way that they animate his
stuck
face
in line
when
and he's like
so annoyed. And then the joy.
That sequence of them running all he's like dun 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 dun, and he's like going through all these emotions is just like
so
a masterclass in animating emotions.
Yes.
But it's also to the timing of the song. It's also like, but he goes through like, hey, this sucks. Oh, I saw my yo-yo. Ooh, like it's
it all
so
fits
good.
in. Yeah.
It's so cute. I got serious like dodo bird vibes from Alice in Wonderland with this.
Oh,
yeah.
It was just very like goofy and doofy kind of just, they were drawn very similarly. I don't know if they're supposed to be, I don't think they're flamingos.
Alice in Wonderland.
But
no, they've got flamingos are the
I'm sorry, I said the dodo, but yes, I'm thinking the Queen of Hearts, like her.
Her
the
golf,
croquet.
the croquet mount.
Yeah,
that's
I was
right.
those vibes. Whatever birds those are in Alice in Wonderland, that's what I get from the flingos, and at least him, the yo-yo bird, the yo-yo
Yeah,
play.
the kind of
Flamingo
dopey
in this
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, he's great.
But he's also still the hero of the piece, which is fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just told her that's why I have the plush. I just related to him. I was like, I love it. I'm different, and I think he's so cute. I tend
Where'd
to
you get that plush?
at the movie.
At the premiere? Is that what you said?
I think
at
I
the
got
beginning?
it from
I gotta say, that doesn't look like a 21-year-old plush. It's very bright, and like if you told me you got that the other day.
No, I've had too many stuffed animals in my lifetime that they all just didn't get played with to be so torn up. But yeah, this my girls play with it now. Yeah, I got it back at the premiere of it, or at least sometime in 2000.
That's great.
But yeah, he was cute. I loved him.
What do we think about this one? Thumbs up all around?
This is a thumbs up for me. I love this one.
So the next one, once again, the Randy Macho Man Savage entrance music.
No, it's Penn and Teller.
Oh, nope, sorry. Yeah,
we have Sorcerer's Apprentice, which we skipped.
I will say we went ahead and skipped because we've seen it.
I will say that animation versus like seeing the newer animation, I think it holds its own.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. For the part we did watch, like it fits with everything else.
Yeah.
So that was cool, and I think we've kind of addressed, wishing they had done something different or maybe incorporated Mickey as a sorcerer a little bit different.
Yeah. Penn and Teller go through a whole routine. I gotta say, Penn Jillette's like kind of screaming at you voice was a little grating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like let's tell you, like I love that stuff, but his like, this is what magic is. I'm like, all right, shh, we're enjoying the orchestra. Like it felt like a guy you would kick out of the symphony.
Yes, but I did
all right,
like,
sir, you need to leave.
Their whole bit, but Teller's the quiet one, right?
Yes.
I just love that Teller's like doing all these magic things, like as a sideline too. Like he has a rabbit later on, not only the one he pulls out of the hat, but then he's like petting one later that just like appears.
I will say this felt like the most dated.
Yes, intro.
Well,
dated piece and dated intro too. I think.
Oh yeah, I meant Penn and Teller.
Yes,
I think you're right. I think this one still holds up. It was just we have a little economy of time trying to get through this.
I did like at the end that they kept Mickey talking to the original conductor, and then that's where they update him as how he would be animated in 2000 and 1999, and then he talks to the current conductor,
child molester. James Levine. And then they did the bit where he's running around looking for Donald, and it felt like that, like you said, like that would feel really good in the theater, like hearing it. And then Donald's taking a shower. I don't know why. I love the Disney shower bit, like because they did it a lot. I think with like Clarabelle the cow and stuff like that.
I feel like always in the
It's
shower.
always a claw bathtub with like a suspended shower curtain around it, kind of like what Ralph Macchio dresses up as in Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And then like they always have a shower cap and they have a big loofah brush. And they're always doing their back.
Who showers like that anymore? And who used to shower like that? Like, come on.
Listen, I love a good loofah brush. I love a good back scratch as part of it, so that's probably part of it. But
I really enjoy Donald in Pomp and Circumstance. I always I've come to realize I love his temper. I love his frantic energy. I enjoy Donald for the most part, minus the...
This was my least favorite one.
Really?
I think the music and the animation married the worst. And I think having that come off of, especially one that is so classic. Do you think it's because it's a
song that you know?
Well, that's the thing.
So associate...
There's so many parts of it I didn't know.
Yeah.
All I know is a dun 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 dun. We can't be sued for that. We can't be copyright.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's anyway. So I remembered, but all the other stuff I didn't. I just felt like this felt like a studio requirement. This felt like Michael Eisner goes, "Hey, we got to get Don." I don't know why.
Hey.
Michael Eisner does not talk about. Hello,
yeah.
Hello. I need you to get Donald in this, and my son Breck likes Pomp and Circumstance.
And if we can't do pregnant princesses, we're gonna do it this way.
We're gonna do Donald.
Yeah.
We need to get Donald in there somehow. Like I was really expecting, and I feel like I like the song. And I like if they redid this with new music,
you think
I'd like it a lot more. I also think you were talking about how well Sorcerer's Apprentice still look to this day. Yeah. Probably, like it's not digital, it's done on print, probably blown up on IMAX. It still looked beautiful. this one, like, there's a reason people know the Mickey as a sorcerer, and people don't really, like, think about this one. Like, this one looks not as good. Like, the lighting at the end feels really blown out. Like, everything seems really bright on them, and, like, a way that's not pleasing to my eye. Like, I don't want to speak for anyone else. I feel like Daisy was such a non-character. Like, there's a lot of scenes where, like, Donald was getting hurt and she goes, "Oh no," or she kind of just did this. She just walked around and went, "Oh no," and I was like, okay. I also like. I always talk about the new DuckTales. Like, the Daisy character in the new DuckTales is so good because her whole thing is her and Donald meet. They're stuck on an elevator, and Donald goes like "Bah, bah, bah, bah," and says something. And the whole thing in the new DuckTales is no one can understand Donald, except when he takes this pill, which makes him sound exactly like Don Cheadle. But so he's in the elevator and he's talking. He says something really long, and she looks at him and goes, "Oh yeah, I totally understand." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "You understand me?" And she's like, "Yeah. Why wouldn't you understand?" Like, and it's like. He sings a whole song like to her, like, and it's like he immediately falls in love with her.
Yeah,
and I like that. Like, she's a very like aspiring fashion designer, which is still very like feminine, quote unquote, but like has some agency. And then like Daisy's such a non-character up until this point.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm suddenly on like a very defending Daisy.
I had a fact about the rain sequence in this one. It was filmed in 1940, and it was used in the Rite of Spring segment in the original.
Yeah, they talk about that's awesome that it went all the way forward.
I thought that was cool.
I think we talked about that in Fantasia because they've used that rain in so many movies. So many
things. So I thought that was cool that it was used there. We forgot / didn't see Mickey and Minnie sitting at the Ark, but apparently it's after the rain stops and all the animals go out on like the deck or whatever of the Ark. It's not called the deck. I'm sure it's called something else, but
why wouldn't it be called the deck?
I don't know. Like,
I think you're right. I think it's the
right?
deck.
Okay.
Have confidence in your... See, we talked about this weekend that I say things that have no basis in fact, but I say it with the confidence of someone who knows what they're talking about. I need you. You're usually right, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Get out there. Say it again. Say on the deck.
When they're out on the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I also, this one, I was lighthearted, and I do think I appreciated like some of the comical moments. And so I think that's what I enjoyed about it, but I can understand why that conflicts with you.
I think
like
it felt
the woodpeckers pecking the hole and Donald like plugging, trying to plug that up.
But
I understand where you were coming from with it.
I think it felt like a Merry Melodies.
Or a short.
Yes.
That should be on its own versus like within all of this.
And I think a segment of this that did a better job of feeling like a Merry Melodies but still feeling good was the Carnival of the Animals.
I think it's very interesting that even in 1999, I feel like movies and TV shows nowadays try to be more inclusive. They try not to reference like, other than like Christmas, they try not to reference like any one specific religion or holiday, and that's, holidays. So I was just... I've noticed this through a lot of Disney movies. Like back in Snow White, she literally gets down on her hands and knees and prays to God, which is great, and that's fine. And that, of course, was way back then. But thinking now, like, you don't have Moana getting on her knees and praying to, what some people.
There's not a lot
God.
of Christian imagery and stuff.
Exactly. So, and yes, this was
which is, I think, the biggest problem with Disney, and we should all take a moment and pray. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they chose something like biblical and very Christian, and which again is
it's not necessarily Christian though, because it's Old Testament, so it's also it's Judeo-Christian, so that I think might have something to do with why it's like it's rooted more in the mythology and a little bit more of the fable era of the Bible as opposed to the what some people may think is a strict doctrine, or something like that. And in fact, some people may believe this is strict doctrine. You make a good point, because even talking about it now, I'm trying to tap dance around certain things.
Yeah, no, it is. I was struck with that as well when we first started watching it. I'm glad you mentioned it, because I kind of forgot that I had that thought. But that story was based on something that like is not it's not a fable. It's, you know, very specific.
It feels kind of like the
one
Johnny
group of
Appleseed
religious
one.
story. Yeah.
When we were talking a lot about the Johnny Appleseed one was such a like specific Christian values.
Yeah.
I will say though, the only time I really like thought about anything dealing with this as a religious story was when Donald was trying to get the animals on the ark and they weren't listening to him, and like the lightning hit behind them. For some reason, I thought it was gonna be like, "Thanks, big guy," and like give like a.
Oh,
like,
yeah. You also liked the fantasy animals, the dragon,
They're
blowing
like
fire.
sitting on a
Yeah.
hill laughing. Look at all
Like,
these
you
stupid
idiots!
animals.
Like, I thought that was a really funny bit, and I think that might be why they put it in here, because like at this point, I feel like the idea of Noah is such a kid's story, like in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when they, you know, when they talk about like, I guess, quote unquote nudity in animals or in animation. Like technically, Donald was sunbathing naked on his hammock. When Noah finds him, and he's all embarrassed. And then when he gets dressed, it's just like, so I guess all his private parts are under his chest, because like he still is not wearing pants. So like, what were you?
Well, I think I posted this on the Facebook page where it was like, it's like Mickey and Donald shopping, and it's a full outfit, and they go, well, we only have enough money for one. I'll take the pants, you take the shirt.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. He was like, oh, let me cover up. And then let me get dressed and still completely
And
show
still
my mom.
have,
It's
yeah.
like, so then, I mean, I get the joke, and it's just to be silly, but when you really think too hard about it.
Well, it's like always that thing in cartoons where it's like if you shoot a gun at Superman, he lets the bullets bounce off his chest, but then they throw the empty gun at him, and he always ducks.
Yeah.
It's like, why duck now?
That's
Thumbs up, thumbs down for this one. I give it a sideways.
Yeah,
like,
I'd side.
yeah,
There's
it's
none
okay.
of these that like
yeah.
are complete down for me,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm an up only because my kids really enjoy it. It's got Donald, it's got Daisy, it has animals. Like,
Yeah.
This feels very much for the kids, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
The last one is
we also forgot to talk about when the kind of operatic singing comes in.
Oh my
We
goodness, I
thought-
forgot about that.
I just looked down
There
and
was-
read my note.
So when we do this podcast, we watch the film together on a Disney Plus group watch, but we put the audio of both the movie and then Madeline through the television, so if she wants to chime in, we can hear her. And
vice
so
versa, yeah.
so we'll be watching a movie and she'll say, "Oh my goodness, blah blah blah," but it's all coming out of the same speaker as whatever. So when this woman started singing, there was a solid 2 seconds where I went, "Oh my God, Madeline!" Like I thought it was her singing, and apparently you thought it was
And
Tara.
I thought it was Tara for like a
Yeah,
hot second,
and
and I
then
forgot,
you
yeah,
thought-
it's part of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, like that was
forgot
a really
about
funny
that.
moment.
And
That
for
was
reference,
funny.
I cannot sing that high.
Not
She
even.
Did
goes
you notice
sky
like there was
high.
a part and she has to get really high up there, and like either they like really turn down her mic or she just did not sing the up and out. Like she gets
Oh,
all the way
really?
to a peak, and then the
Yeah.
orchestra plays one more note, she's not singing, and then she comes back down, and I'm like, were you just not able to get there? I don't know, it's interesting.
It felt very out of place. I think that's another contribution to why this was my least
Yeah.
favorite. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is followed by my absolute favorite, and the one that if you're only going to watch one from this, that would be my suggestion, is the Firebird Suite. It was it was my favorite. It's introduced by Dame Angela Lansbury.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes, Mrs. Potts.
And talks about life, death, and renewal.
Yes,
She mentions that in the introduction as well.
Roy Disney apparently drove through a while afterward, but the Mount St. Helens area.
Yeah, this is what this is supposed to depict from
And-
the explosion the eruption in 1980.
And he said, wouldn't it be interesting if we put a like time-lapse video of like this? I would love to see a time-lapse of this from like the next 400 years as this, everything grows back. And that's what we see. We see, like Mother Nature or some character kind of being nurtured after winter and kind of, or maybe it's spring is the character.
I wrote Mother Nature down, but in the beginning it feels very winter to spring, but then it just seems like she's revitalizing, she's bringing everything to life. So, yeah, I think there are different ways to
I wonder if you
interpret
think of her
that.
as spring because it's Stravinsky, and he also did Rite of Spring.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there
That's
are
a good-
lots of like very Stravinsky-esque moments in Firebird that are very Rite of Springy. It's just, yeah.
I thought this one was animated superbly. I liked the characters, the elk. I liked spring.
Yeah.
When the mountain erupts and it's the Firebird. Now this is supposed to feel like mirror Bald Mountain because it's something
Yes.
very dark and then something very light at the end, like Bald Mountain and Ave Maria.
It also gave me a little bit of Sorcerer's Apprentice vibes in certain moments.
You know what? So the Firebird is like the eruption, and the Firebird was. I think the Firebird is our other villain. And I love
I really enjoyed when it was like a rock, like when she goes into the volcano,
yes,
and everything's
It's
very
like a
still
little
and very quiet, and then it literally erupts in front of her. That
like
was
the eyes open up, and like,
yeah,
that's the part of Firebird, it gets like really quiet, and all of a sudden, and it's like surprise. It's just a surprise moment.
I also thought, and we'll go into this in the villain ranking. It felt very Don Bluth-esque. Like the monster looked like. It reminded, like, when its eyes opened, it looked like the great owl, from Nim.
Yeah.
It looked like, it reminded me of the mouse thing at the end of, the big giant mouse, I don't know what it's called, at the end of, and we'll get to it eventually, of American Tail. And then, when they go to, in, All Dogs Go to Heaven, like the devil dog that it had this very dumb, and it was probably because it was dripping lava.
Yeah.
Had a very interesting look. I also liked how the look of Spring and the Firebird mirrored each other.
They mirrored each other, yeah, because she had the same drippiness, that it was just either water or the grass and the flowers and the butterflies. Yeah, she was very.
I love when she transformed to water, when she's like basically ashes and the elk kind of brings her back. Yeah. And then how she then
back into her.
Yeah. And then she becomes water. I really enjoyed this.
This was by far my favorite one.
Also that close up when it's her whole face and her hair.
Yeah.
And that was a really beautiful moment too.
This is very nerdy of me, but for years, if I could figure out how to make something from this piece, like specifically that sprite, specifically her, bringing to life the what I'm going to call a cherry blossom tree. Like if I could turn that into a tattoo, I would totally do it. Just because for me, I'm like it's my passion for music, for like the rebirth idea, like the cherry blossoms, DC area, and like just this all around us being nice to nature, like, and just loving creatures big and small. And I was just like, so if I could find a way where that wouldn't take up my whole body, or it wouldn't just look like one green blob next to one pink blob on my body somewhere, I would totally love to get that as a tattoo.
It's
Disney, so it's like Disney, music, rebirth, just all my faves all rolled into one thing.
So this, we're almost there anyway, because I feel like this is just ends, which is interesting because I feel like Fantasia ends a little better because it just goes, thank you for watching Fantasia, goodbye.
Well,
because,
and you watch everybody pack up. You watch the orchestra pack up.
You do hear, but that's what I'm saying. The original Fantasia, because they didn't really do closing credits in movies back then, they just went goodbye, and it felt like a good place to do it. This one replays Carnival of Animals, and I liked watching the orchestra get up and talk to each other and stuff. Like, I thought that was very cool, but it's the same song again. Like, I don't know. There's, and I don't know. It didn't feel as you don't have ending credits when you go to the orchestra, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's no lights up on the audience, curtains closing. I want to say one more thing about Firebird, if I can. Though.
Oh, sure, yeah. Go ahead.
Because Tara was saying she got Night on Bald Mountain vibes. Or what, something else, another vibe you got, and I can't remember.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Vibes, yeah.
Well, when he does this, and it's the
and just like her
His
kind
Ned
of
or whatever.
Yeah.
I was getting, and again, this is me just making connections where there aren't any. I was getting big Moana vibes.
Yes,
from
Spring.
Lava monster.
Yeah,
and
very
Te
so,
is
very
the
much so.
With the green mountain, and it's just, I was like,
I had a thought if that played into, I don't know, we've not done any research on Moana, so I don't know if that's based on a tale that exists, a folk tale that exists or not, but that was my thought when I was watching it too, was I wonder if they borrowed from this to that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, so here we are at the end.
Oh wait, thumbs up for
thumbs up or thumbs down for Firebird. I think we all talked about that. This one's gonna be, let's do our questions. Let's just see if any of the questions really fit, because I know it's such a weird, different thing.
So is our princess still going to be Mickey then in this?
I think Donald is a princess. I think Spring is a princess.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we've got multiple princesses. The Steadfast Tin Soldier is a princess. So let's get this one down a little bit.
Okay.
And we may skip some of it. But what was everyone's favorite one? I think mine was Firebird. Their favorite musical number.
I feel like Tara, I can't pick one.
Yep, I'm the same.
I know, you both just like looked like I just like
It's so hard. Okay,
asked you a
Sophie's
math
choice.
question on Jeopardy or something.
So what I will say is, as an adult, I think I really like Firebird a lot more. I've always loved that piece of music. Even in high school, I've really loved that piece. I mean, there is a fantastic French horn solo in it, so that's probably part of it. But
Well, we also pointed out at the end there was a spot where it was the French horns and the trumpet seemed to be playing together, and I could hear a flute trill in the background. So I
yes,
think
we were
nice
all
mi-
represented.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a nice marriage of all our
Yes.
interests.
Yeah.
So I think as an adult, I'm gravitating towards that one more. I also like really enjoy what that is trying to depict and describe. But I think when I originally saw this, it was Rhapsody in Blue and the Flamingo. So I would say, those were the two I really liked. And I still really enjoyed Rhapsody in Blue because I liked the story it told of all of these characters that were down and out in one way or another. And they all like kind of realized their dreams. I like that through line. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Firebird as an adult. But those other two come in a close second for me.
Same with you, Madeline?
Yes, I guess. I mean, they're all great. I can just, because I'm singing Firebird, sorry, now Bella's with me. 'Cause I'm singing Rhapsody in Blue in my head. But you're right. I think with everything, animation, music, theming, storytelling, we'll go with Firebird because it's just, it's everything. It's all perfect. Yes, the flingos are cute and they're fun. And I love the oddball out, like the odd man out just wins the day. And everyone else gets their comeuppance and the raps. Yeah, they're all great, but Firebird. If I had to pick one, long answer, shorter.
Same. I would like to give a runner up to Pines of Rome. I think that one was like a surprise.
Even though I like completely didn't add it in mine, I think as an adult, it's one I really, Madeline kind of captured it. I feel like when I watched it, when I first saw it, I didn't really understand it or thought it was kind of out there, but I really appreciated the creativity of it and how unique and different it was.
Do we want to talk about how it holds up? I think it's mostly pretty good.
And we've kind of addressed some of it a little bit.
I have an issue learning. I thought I never really thought about George Gershwin like taking jazz off the streets and into the orchestra hall, and that feels a little bit like cultural appropriation to me in some ways. But that seems like the subject of a bigger podcast that we're not exactly trying to cover right here. So I think for the most part, these are all good things to show your kids. They might be a little scared of the Firebird in the last one, but there's it's like the first one. There's things you should show that they might be interested in or not.
And since it's so segmented, it's great to just watch one. Yeah, just watch one of them or watch two of them.
It's so much shorter than the other one. You could watch this one in one sitting. Like fast forward through the adult speaking.
Not Steve Martin.
The younger kids. Steve Martin's great. But
your young child should learn about Steve Martin early.
It's true.
Let's do some villains.
All right.
So Levine first? No.
That's very good.
All
I like that a lot.
Well,
I guess he's not funny, so yeah.
Let's start with the Jack in the Box.
Okay.
Frightening.
I'm gonna give him like between a 3 or a 4. The way
really?
Because he's like maybe frightening, isn't it? But he's
no. I don't want to talk you out of a score.
That's okay. I'm gonna speak up for you here.
He's got a creep factor.
Tara,
he's got like a real creep factor. He does. Like is peering at her and like almost like
he's
objectifying her. Yeah, I don't know that objectifying is right, but he just,
he's objectifying her.
Yeah,
I mean she is literally an object because she is a toy. Yes. However,
but yeah, no, I'm between a 3 and a 4 for him.
Which do you want to do?
I would like to hear your answers.
Mine is a 2. I didn't think he was very scary. I think he looked kind of creepy, but that's about it. Didn't really do too much for me.
Yeah.
What do you think, Madeline?
I'll do a 3 also for all those reasons. But yeah, there are certain times when the lighting on him was like the fire lighting kind of like lit up his face and made him a little more menacing. But yeah, he's a huge creep, slimeball, scumbag. Ugh.
Yeah, I'll give him a 3.
Okay. Funny? No. 1 for me.
1.
1's across the board. This might be some real quick villain ranking today. Fierce? 1.
1.
Agreed.
He does look like Farquaad a little bit, which is interesting because Farquaad is based off of Michael Eisner. So
yes,
but I guess that's effective 1. He doesn't really.
I mean, he's the one who winds up getting destroyed.
I mean, he gets her for a little while, so maybe a 2.
Because he got rid of the soldier for a while. So
yeah,
2.
I guess that's true.
I'll give him
out the window somehow.
Yes,
I'll
give him a 2. But
and he does capture the ballerina in a little
that is a
thingy.
generous 2, I believe.
Yeah.
So 2s across the board. Design. He just looked like a Jack-in-the-Box to me. I'm almost thinking like.
Well,
1 or
I
2.
read that it was really difficult for them to find real-life Jack-in-the-Box at this time because they don't really exist anymore. So, like, they were trying to, like, base him off of...
eBay wasn't big then.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I read a fact about that. It's not one I wrote down, so I might not have that exactly right. But his design was fine. There was nothing... I'll give him a
solid
2.
2.
I'll give him a 2,
impressive.
yeah.
It wasn't, like, awful. Just he was just there.
I'm going to stick to a 1. I'm going to say he wasn't very interesting. Go away, Heat. I'll give him a 2 or a 3.
Oh,
Oh.
3 or 4 because he's such a creep.
Madeline,
Yeah.
a 4 from you?
Yeah, I was almost going to do 5, but I was like, no, not that intense. But yeah, 4. Like, he's a creep. He's just like...
Yeah, I'm giving him a
he's-
4 too.
it's-
You're giving him a 4 as well?
He's pushing himself on the ballerina. She clearly says no, but he's like, no, just kidding. You want this? And she's like, no, I don't. Please leave me
Yeah,
alone.
he's
So
really
he needs
aggressive.
to go away.
I'm gonna give him a 3 because I like the idea of objectifying women.
Cool.
No, I don't know.
Cool.
I just after you guys go, oh, he does this and he's a creep, blah blah blah. I don't want to be like, well, mine's still lower than you because I don't want to sound hashtag not all Jack in the boxes type jerk. Listen, it didn't get to me like it did probably because of my male privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Yes factor, he had 1 with me. Like,
1. I'd give him
only
a 0
because we don't
if I
have a
could.
0.
Yeah.
Average with guess he has a 13. Ooh, let me scroll all the way to the bottom. No, he is tied with the Gogans from
Oh, he's the
Peace Dragon.
Good. He can be down there.
That's funny.
All right, so up next is the Firebird. I want to start off by saying, like, the Firebird is kind of, while not my favorite villain, and nor would I ever say that, like, I was shocked how much I enjoyed this character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and go with frightening for the Firebird.
4.
Yeah, I'm up there too. I think also because of how intensely he our first meeting
the
of
eyes
him.
popping open
yeah.
is a very like startling moment, and then he destroys the world and eats the little sprite, and yeah, it's pretty scary. Lava's terrifying.
Yeah.
I agree. I think a 4 is a perfect thing because to me it felt like he'd be scarier if I was a kid, but like wasn't.
Yeah.
I think 4 is a good one. Funny.
Yeah.
No, a 1.
1 across the board. I wasn't like he's burning that forest. Fierce. So
I think he does have a fierce quality,
right?
to
Like,
him.
and he's
cake
got
drama
kind of,
with the lava and the arms dripping.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
way he like because he's very similar to her. She's got that quality as well because of the way that she's very commanding. He's very commanding in his moment as well.
I don't want to give him too much because I think it's more of a primal thing than anything else. Than like
But I think he should. I think he deserves.
What did I say last night? Sissy that walk because you were watching
I was
Drag Queen
watching
All-Stars.
RuPaul's Drag Race. I think
like
I'm
a
going to give
3?
him a 2. I was between a 2 and a 3, but I think I'll give him a 2.
because I was going to give him a 4, and then Ryan talked me down.
I
3.
will give him a 2 as
right.
well.
Like,
But
it's yeah. I'll go with 3 though. I think he's
effective. I mean, he destroyed the forest.
everything.
and the sprite,
It's-
almost,
Yeah.
Do we
To
want to give him a
Ash.
5? Because I'm worried this guy's going to be ranked way too high.
Well, that's not why you should rank somebody.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I
He
think
was
he's effective.
successful.
Yes.
He's a 5, I think. In the way we rank villains in the past, I
Correct.
think he's a 5.
Correct.
Agreed. 5.
He's more effective than Chernabog. Chernabog
Yeah.
doesn't get the town destroyed or anything. Design, I think he's a 4 or a 5.
Yeah, I really like
I know
his
it's
design a lot.
just lava, but it's just so cool. So maybe I won't go as high as 5. I'll do a 4 because there's not much to him, but like reds and yellows and blacks, but it's 4 because it's really, really cool.
Well, and again, the movement of him, the movement of like how it.
I think he's a 5.
It's the same with her. It's the
Go
same with
for it,
her.
yeah.
Yeah. They mirror each other's movements a lot. I'm going to give him a 4.
I think I'm going to give him a 5 because I think the idea of him, again, mirroring someone else, this, and part of it is the segment. The segment is so well thought out.
Yes.
Go Away Heat is a 1 for me.
Agreed,
yeah.
Like, he didn't do anything objectionable. He was cool. Now,
I mean, he destroyed everything, but we see everything come back to life, so it doesn't feel as, like, final.
Yes Factor, because I do Yes Factor based on this viewing.
Okay.
I knew nothing about the Firebird.
Yeah, so you weren't, like, super pumped for it.
But as soon as I did see him, I was like, I really like this character. So I'm going to give him a 2. He gets a little bit of a bump up for me, simply because I think... part of Yes Factor to me is going into this how excited I was, but the other part is what did you establish once you got there. So I'm going to give him a 2. Do you want to give him a little bit of a Yes Factor because I know you like the Firebird Suite? I don't know why I'm campaigning hard for the Firebird.
That's fine.
Well,
I mean,
yes,
but that's the music.
Everything. Yeah, and yes, he destroys everything, but I liked him. I was going to give him like a 4, and again, Ryan's lowball.
Listen, whatever you want to do.
I know, Ryan, it's funny. So I came into this wanting to be like, Tara, don't let Ryan discourage you from your votes. It happens almost every episode, and I don't like it. But now here I am, letting Ryan talk me down on my votes. Ryan, stop it.
Here's the thing. If only I was convincing in something that mattered in life, like if I could be a politician or like a lawyer or something. No, it's like, Your Honor, the Firebird deserves a much higher score. I don't know why he suddenly became a... Identical license plate. Identical. Yeah, sound like the lawyer in My Cousin
Vinny.
So you're going to give him a 3, Madeline?
Do you want to give him a 4? Give him a 4.
I like it. I'm going to go for a 4.
Go
for it.
And I want to point out to our guests, my second point I wanted to make, to Madeline and to any of our listeners out there, I am a big proponent for, I am explaining why I'm voting a certain way. I am not trying. I am.
He's a man who is explaining, and
I am not trying to change anyone's vote.
Yes, no, I appreciate it. And through these conversations, I'm like, yeah, okay, he's making more reasonable, or he's rationalizing like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it, all 5s, and I'm like, nope, okay, this makes more sense. He's bringing up a lot of good points. I shouldn't go into this, guns ablaze and like woohoo. So
that being said, Tara,
I'm gonna go with a 2.
Okay.
Well, because again, I think this one, I came out of this one like, now if I was to rewatch it again, I'd have a high Yes Factor. But I think
same.
Going into it, I wasn't I love the piece of music, but I didn't really quite remember it as well. So, but yeah, I came away from it really enjoying it.
So the Firebird has a 19.5.
Where is he?
I don't know. Higher.
Is he above King John?
Maybe. That's gonna. Really
I don't think he is he?
It might be.
Oh my gosh, I think.
Yeah.
He's
my gosh! He's tied with Chernabog. That is amazing.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's so good. I can't think of anything better than like
for them to be tied.
Ending on that. That's wonderful. But we do have the one last question, which is, do we get a clamshell edition of this on the, add it to the I've said this 70 times. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with this. We get a clamshell edition of the VHS on our shelf.
Top shelf.
Or do we lock it away in the vault forever?
Or put it in a drawer.
I have a controversial opinion.
Oh no.
This may be the first one that I'm like, I really wish I had a drawer.
See?
Because
Thank you for finally coming around to the drawer.
I don't think it. I was like, it's hard because this one is, a sequel of sorts. It's not a sequel because there's not a through line of a narrative, but it's it's a follow up to what I consider a gorgeous work of fine, almost as close to fine art as you can get with animation, depending on your things. Like, fine art to me is so, like, it has to be around for 300 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's art. It's modern in that it's the 20th century art.
Mm-hmm.
It that's Fantasia. This is not. This feels commercial. This feels like it's from 1999. In the same way, not quite as different. Like the difference between Woodstock and Woodstock 99.
Yeah.
Like it's like I see what you're trying to do here, and it will be remembered. But
but for different things.
Yes.
Too.
But so for me, because I am steadfast, I will be locking this in the vault.
Wow, because you won't create a
Nope,
drawer. Well,
no
I
drawer.
have a
Not gonna
drawer,
break
but
the rules.
mine goes on
Tara's
the
drawer of misfit films.
yes, mine goes on the shelf. I think I think it's a great way to bring classical music to children. So that alone for me, I know you're
I feel
but
it's already in the vault. I can't do anything
you
about it.
can't do
Once it's
anything
in there,
about
it never comes
But
out.
I do think, and as we talked about, it's much shorter than the original, so I think there are some pluses for that depending on like why you're showing the film. And for me, I also want to hear Mickey's commentary, so I kind of want to get it and put it on my shelf so I can listen to Mickey and Roy do
That's
the
awesome.
commentary. But yeah, I think for me this holds a place on the shelf.
Madeline?
Agreed, it's on my shelf. It can't not be. But my shelf is
Yeah.
also like an entire wall of things. So it would have to be it has to be really, really, really bad for me not to like it and not to put it on the shelf. So it's on my shelf.
Madeline, thank you so much for being on our show.
You.
This was so much fun.
Yeah, this worked
Clearly
out
this is the best day
so
of my
wonderfully.
Oh my goodness.
Married, kids, whatever. I was on Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries. This is
Yeah.
going in
Dozens of people heard me. So we always ask our guests to plug something, whether it's a personal project, a piece of media you've been enjoying lately, or just a general sentiment you want to put out there in the world. Please, Madeline, feel free to plug away.
Well, for the maybe 1 or 0 listeners that live in Manassas, Virginia, if you play the flute, so again, even lower audience, come look me up. Manassas Flute Academy. I've got lessons. But since that applies to 0 people, just be nice. It's not that hard to be nice to people. Just be a nice person. Do nice things. Like Thumper says, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Like, just be good people. It's not that hard.
I believe our next film is Dinosaur, so we will have
Oh,
a
it is?
returning
Wow.
guest. Yes, a movie that actually came out in the year 2000. So we'll be checking that with Marjorie, but until then, we'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks for listening to Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
If you want to tell us your favorite Disney villain and why it's guest on, send us an email at trprincessdiaries@gmail.com.
Or you can send a tweet about how great Maleficent is to @TRPDiaries.
Check out our Facebook group by searching for Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, and many more.
Wherever you hear us, please be our knight in shining armor and give us a 5-star review.
Thanks again, and until next time, remember to always live happily ever after.